Welcome to the Glenn Beck program. Tonight, I ask, if you know a police officer, you call him right now. Tell him to turn the program on and make sure they don't miss the last 10 minutes of this show. Tonight, the next 60 minutes will boggle your mind. I want you to share it with a police officer. If it doesn't shock and wake all of America up, I honestly don't know what will. Hello, America. I want to talk to you kind of first on a personal note. Doing a TV show like this is, I mean, don't get me wrong, it ain't digging ditches. In one way, it's the easiest job ever. But in another way, it's difficult, especially if you actually believe in what you say. And you're not just doing what's called rip and read. You're just reading somebody else's work or words. You are actually trying every day as a staff to produce new material because you have a different point of view, and so you have to do your own homework. And to do that responsibly takes hours and hours and hours, endless hours of work for an entire staff. And then each of us, we do a lot of reading. We do a lot of reading of current news, but also of history, especially if you're a dope like me. I think I'm the only person on the staff that didn't go to college. Most of my life I spent as a lazy, typical American, you know, just kind of eating Fruit Loops every day and going, this is sweet. And on 9/11, my eyes started to open up, and I realized, holy cow, this is fragile, and we have a responsibility as citizens. So I've been trying to figure things out since then. And I have read an awful lot of books since then. But in the last year, it's weird. I feel like I have been spending time with a few people. Moses, I spent a lot of time with him last year in the Bible. Gandhi, Whitfield. And recently, it's been two people. Dietrich Bonhoeffer. I didn't even know who this guy was a year ago. This is an exceptional book that should be read by every American. This is a guy who tried to wake the Germans up to the horror show that was coming, and he started in the early 1930s, and it didn't end well for him. And recently I've been spending time with Winston Churchill, another guy who just tried to ring the bell and wake his people up. Both of these guys were unsuccessful. This one for a period of time, this one all the way to the end. And both of them, in a way, became pariahs. This one, believe it or not, more than this one. In 1931, Winston Churchill resigned from the Conservative Party. He was asked to come back in 1939, and then, believe it or not, he was asked to come back because he had been right. In the 30s, everybody's like, Winston, shut up, the Germans aren't building planes. But then in 39, they went, okay, maybe we were wrong about that. Then he helped England win the war, and then the Fabian Socialists drove him back out in 1945. He was more successful than this one. Bonhoeffer died in prison 3 weeks before Hitler was killed. The reason why I am spending time with these guys right now is I'm trying to learn from their mistakes. Where did they go wrong? How did they not wake their people up? I've come to the conclusion that they didn't do anything wrong, they didn't go wrong, and there isn't anything to learn about some magic secret that would wake people up. I think it's just human nature. I think it's common for people to avoid what could be colossally bad news. That's true, I'll deal with it then. It's in our nature. Honestly, it's what keeps us alive many times. It's the hope for the best. If you ask at least my wife, I think most women will tell you this too, when a man has to go to the doctor, especially if it's something important, we don't go. I mean, if you have to go, you go for a cold or something, you get a quick Z-Pack or something to fix you up, okay, I'll go. But if you have, like, I don't know, symptoms of, leprosy or something, you're like, oh, that could be leprosy, I don't want to go. And so we don't face it. We don't do it. People don't deal with the harsh realities because it's just that. It's harsh. And I'll deal with it then. Unfortunately, it leads to problems. A lot of people in the last couple of years, every step of the way, haven't wanted to believe that there are people that are in this country that hate America. They hate the Western way of life. And you haven't wanted to believe that because, quite honestly, this is the best any human has ever had it in the history of all mankind, here in America. Believe it or not. And if you point out that there are communists or socialists or those who love Mao or want to end the Western way of life, it sounds crazy. It sounds crazy. And you don't want to think about it anyway. You look at the Middle East, and you think, no, it's not going to happen. This is about freedom. This is freedom. They're the freedom lovers. That's all this is. They're freedom lovers. They're not going to do any of this. We don't want to consider the fact that maybe, just maybe, things could get worse than they were before the freedom lover revolution. We don't want to consider then, in the end, that we've been duped by people. H.G. Wells has one of my favorite lines in all of literature. No one would have believed in the last years of the 19th century that this world was being watched keenly and closely by intelligences greater than man's, and yet as mortal as his own. That as men busied themselves about their various concerns, they were scrutinized and studied, perhaps almost as narrowly as a man with a microscope might scrutinize the transient creatures that swarm and multiply in a drop of water. He was talking about how alien minds just looked at humans and scrutinized them and watched them while everybody was busy, and they were just germs. We've been scrutinized, but not by alien intelligences, but by those who would like to destroy us. Unfortunately, when it all comes down, whether you believe it now or have to have it proved to you later, the truth is a fire. The truth shall set you free. And the truth has no agenda. But I want you to know tonight, I do have agenda. And here it is. I'm trying to wake police officers up to something that is really important. My agenda is to reach out, in particular, to the police officers who I love and respect in this country. Those people that are teachers and firefighters and police officers, standing in solidarity with the unions and the radical leftists. My agenda tonight is that you will see exactly who you're getting in bed with. The enemy of your enemy is not your friend, and you must be extraordinarily careful. By the end of this hour, I believe police officers, I hope police officers will call their own unions and say, what are we doing? And I want to start here, but buckle up because it gets much worse from here. It's a story that came out last September, and surprise, surprise, it didn't get much attention in the media. In fact, this program never mentioned it. Shame on us. September 24th, 2010. The FBI launched a comprehensive raid of 7 Chicago and Minneapolis homes of well-known Union socialist and anti-war activists. 20 agents spent all day carrying boxes out of these homes, going through hard drives and cell phones and evidence gathering. So what were they raided for? This is actually a copy of the search and seizure warrant. They were going in because these people they suspected were providing, attempting, and conspiring to provide material to support the designated foreign terrorist organizations. So let me see if I have this right so far. The unions and the leftists are working with radicals like the Islamists in the Middle East. Wow, I've never heard that theory before. I don't know who could possibly come up with a theory like that. It's crazy, isn't it? In total, 14 people were subpoenaed. And then later, December 9th, more activists in Chicago were also subpoenaed by a grand jury. Each one of those 9 refused to testify. I'll tell you what they did instead. It's pretty amazing. Now, charges have not been filed by our Justice Department. What a surprise there. The subpoenas requested information pertaining to trips to Jordan, Syria, Colombia, and Palestinian territories of Israel. So now why is this important? What does this have to do with the police and firefighters in Wisconsin or anywhere else? Well, because if you are thinking about standing in solidarity with teachers, who, by the way, are great, and I don't think the teachers are communist or anything else, but the unions are real trouble for us, America. Who doesn't want to support the teachers or the firemen or the police? But you must understand that there is more to know about this story, and teachers are being used as shields, and so are you, the cops and firemen. It is unions that you must understand have been infiltrated themselves. You must not become what Lenin called a useful idiot. I am convinced that there are enemies in this country, and I have volumes of evidence of it. It's beyond unions. It's not just unions. It's beyond Richard Trumka. It is Islamic terrorists. And they are being aided and abetted. They are. And we have turned a blind eye in this nation for political correctness or political connections or political power or political corruption. But a bomb goes off in this country, and it will be the political connections that did it. So, if you're thinking about standing in solidarity with your brother, you must know who you're standing with. Now, if you don't agree with what you're about to see, then you need to call your union and find out about it. Separate yourself. You are not protesting the same things. You are being used.